Imagine you are back in high school, walking the halls between classes when the teacher stops you because your pants are too tight, your shirt is too short, or your jeans are ripped. You're immediately sent to the principal's office and asked to change clothes or pick something from the lost and found. If uniforms were mandatory in all public schools, dress code problems would vanish and allow students to focus their minds back on their academics. Dress codes provide unnecessary rules on children that could easily be avoided with the use of uniforms. Between schools and districts, their uniformity varies widely. Uniforms can solve the problems of dress codes by showing the benefits and how to implement them into schools. Schools that do not require uniforms do require a strict dress code in place that usually is more restrictive than a uniform policy. These dress codes usually allow comfortable clothing for most students, but prohibit many clothing options such as large or baggy clothing, holes in clothes, scarves, curlers, bandanas, tights, leggings, bike shorts, or pajamas. By allowing some clothing and not others, arguments arise from parents and children that they are discriminating between female and male students in what they can wear. Also, students that are required to follow a dress code are always tempted to buy trendy clothing, which makes buying school clothes very expensive throughout the entire year. Even public schools who do not require uniforms have a mandatory dress code, which makes students buy certain clothing to follow that dress code. Now that we see that dress codes are creating problems, the solution is to add uniforms to public schooling. Some public institutions already require uniforms, while others stick to a certain dress code, allowing variety from school to school. Procon conducted research that showed that almost 1 in 5 U.S. public schools require students to wear uniforms during the years of 2011 to 2012, which is up from 1 in 8 in the years of 2003 to 2004. In the essay, Should Students Have to Wear School Uniforms?, proponents say that school uniforms make schools safer for students, create a level playing field that reduces socioeconomic disparities, and encourage children to focus on their studies rather than their clothes. By adding uniforms, parents and teachers have seen they increase student self-esteem, decrease the influence of gangs, improve learning, promote a sense of teamwork, improve behavior, and help administrators identify outsiders who could be a threat. Personally, coming from a private school that required school uniforms, having a dress code made it much easier to get ready in the mornings, saved money for my parents throughout the year, and identified outsiders very easily. According to Sherry Bowen, school uniforms are one step that may help break the cycle of violence, truancy, and disorder. All the benefits of uniforms help student learning by creating a sense of community and uniformity. Making school uniforms mandatory relieves the administration from picking and choosing what their students can and cannot wear, and adding a simple fix of a uniform, keeping parents and students happy. Now that we know there is a solution to the problem, how can school uniforms be placed into every public institution? When you think of a uniform, does your mind immediately think of plaid skirts, button-downs, and ties? While private institutions do require those types of uniforms, there are many other choices for public institutions, such as tan pants and solid-colored polos. Many students feel that they no longer have a choice in clothing, but if the mandatory uniforms follow Toledo, Ohio's uniforms, they have a palette of colors they can wear for tops such as light blue, dark blue, and yellow, and for pants, dark blue, navy, khaki, or tan. Also, many public schools that require uniforms provide each student with one top and one bottom, allowing the student to wear the correct clothing without any excuses. While families do not realize how much money they spend on dress code clothing, they would save money by buying uniforms and using those for the entire year instead of constantly buying new clothing. We can now see that adding uniforms is the key to creating uniformity from school to school in the United States. In review, dress codes have created many problems for the parents and children that can be avoided with mandatory uniforms. Some public institutions already require uniforms to provide uniformity through their school. By adding uniforms to all public institutions, there are many possible benefits such as improved learning, increased student self-esteem, decrease in the influence of gangs, and the identification of potential intruders. Public institutions that do not require uniforms still require a dress code that is expensive and restricts many clothing options. If public schools are so focused on making rules about what their students can't wear, don't you think it would be much easier to say what they can wear? Requiring uniforms seems to work best when the whole community discusses and agrees upon a policy and enforces it. If uniforms were mandatory in every school across the United States, the uniformity of schools would be equal, allowing students to focus on their knowledge on academics. Thank you.